I heard this word today, and it's the F word.
What?
I know. I was shocked when I heard it. And people say it a lot out there in the sales world. And I think that we sort of get wrapped up in this word and that people really struggle with. And it's something that we really try hard to be able to avoid. And the F word in the sales world is failure. And so,
yes.
yeah.
Okay, I was thinking it was something different.
Something a little different. No, not in this case. I think, though, this has just as negative a connotation, and maybe even more so, than the other F word that you might have been thinking of, because it has such tremendous power over the way that we view life. And so I was wondering, would you talk to the context of failure and really what that looks like from a salesperson's perspective and what we can do about it?
Absolutely. You know, number one, Dan, the question is, does failure really exist?
It's a good question. I think it depends on your perspective.
Yes, it does, just like everything else in life.
That is the truth.
My belief is that there is no such thing as failure, it's only feedback.
Interesting.
And that everybody that I have ever read about throughout history has gone through different levels of failure to become successful. And I'm talking about figures that we've studied in history, or even modern day figures who are in the business world, nonprofit, or in raising families. I mean, you're constantly taking the feedback of things and you're adjusting. I mean, that's the magic of life. Failure does not exist. And I adopted a philosophy about 5 years ago where I said to myself consciously that I am not going to let failure get wrapped around my talent. I'm not going to give it room to live in terms of my language or in terms of my thoughts. I think when you put things and you frame it in that perspective, you realize that we get to make the choice every day in terms of what's the experience that we want to have. And when you become a sales professional, you realize that like life, in terms of life experiences that may be your personal or spiritual life, whatever that may be, you get to use everything for your upliftment, for your learning, and for your betterment. But you have to make that choice to do so. And when you have this failure type of a mindset, again, I don't believe in it, but for the people that do, there's this defeatist kind of mentality where it's like the failure is greater than you are. And that is not the case at all. Failure does not define someone unless you let it.
So if we go out there and we're focusing on that F word, and in the hardest time to be able to go out there and make the next sale is when we feel as if we have failed at the first one. And it decreases the likelihood that we're actually going to be able to pursue and be able to obtain that next sale if we're walking already in with that negative mindset occurring.
Rule number one of sales, people buy from people they like and trust, right?
Correct.
When somebody's walking around and they believe they're a failure, do you think that emanates from them?
Oh, absolutely it does. Absolutely it does.
And are people going to be more likely or less likely to trust them?
You're less likely to trust them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what you get is this repeated cycle that ultimately ends up occurring. That's why we've got a choice. And like you said, Dan, so brilliantly, you get more of what you focus on. And you can focus on, what am I to learn from this? How can I be an owner of this? You know, not, oh, why did this happen to me? And this always happens to me. It's, what am I to learn from this, and how am I going to constantly be making adjustments?
Right.
I mean, that's really where I think the artwork comes in.
Fascinating. So for more tips and tools just like that, we want you to go to oldschoolwithnewtools.com. Of course, while you're there, you have the ability to pick up a book, become a member, and then as always, make sure that you're pressing that subscribe button to our YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.
See you, everyone.
Wild, new, crazy tool that you definitely need to know how to do. So remember, 3 apps. You gotta have LinkedIn, you gotta have Evernote, you gotta have Scannable. And if you wanna know more tips and tools just like this, go to www.oldschoolwithnewtools.com.